morning. Welcome back to Coffee with the Callers. I'm Father James, and of course, I'm here with
Father Doug.
And we have a very special guest this morning with us. Evelyn McNair has joined us. Evelyn, good morning.
Good morning,
Welcome
Father.
to Coffee with the Callers. We're glad that you're with us.
Thank you.
So we've asked Evelyn to be with us this morning, first and foremost, because she's so important in our lives. Evelyn has been employed here, Father Doug, for 39 years at St. Louis.
Congratulations.
That's why my hair is gray.
Next year, she's going to get the gold watch for 40 years. She's trying to get to 40. So, Evelyn, we're glad that you're with us this morning.
You.
And we're here to talk this morning about our patron, St. Louis the Ninth, St. Louis, King of France. And so tell us a little bit about what you know about the King, St. Louis. Evelyn is sort of like our staff historian as well.
He was an amazing ruler because he lost his father at 12. So his mother was the regent ruler and guide for him until he took over at about 20. And he loved education. And I always equate that to St. Louis. We started our parish from a group of parents who wanted to see a school here in the area. They were carting their kids down to St. Austin's, which was the closest Catholic school, and so they petitioned Louis Riker, the first bishop, about offering a parish and a school in their neighborhood that their kids could ride their bikes to and
at that point, this was the edge of civilization, as it were, right?
Was.
Anything north of us was just open fields all the way to this little village called Round Rock, right?
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
Well, and the education tie-in, people don't realize that St. Louis, the king, was one of the patrons and supporters of the Sorbonne School of Theology, which was the school of theology in Europe for probably hundreds of years.
This would be the University of Paris, right?
Right.
So, Father Doug, you're a fan of the University of Paris because one of your patrons, of course, studied there and taught there, right?
Yeah, St. Thomas Aquinas studied at taught at the University of Paris, and he was actually a contemporary of St. Louis the King. And there's a story about that I really like, and I think it illustrates what you're saying, Evelyn, about the king's commitment to education. The story is that the king invited a bunch of the Dominican friars who were teaching at the university over to dine with him. And St. Thomas was ordered by his superiors to go. And you get the impression in the story that maybe St. Thomas would have preferred not to go. Maybe he would have preferred to stay at home and ponder theology.
Yes.
But he went because he was obedient. So he's having dinner with the king, and as the story goes, in the middle of the dinner and the conversation, St. Thomas is not quite engaged in the dinner conversation. He's thinking about something. And in the middle of the dinner, he pounds his fist on the table and yells out, "Reginald, get your pen. That's the argument that will settle the Manichees."
Well, there it is.
So Reginald was his scribe, his secretary, who wasn't even there at the dinner. And the Manichees were this ancient heresy, and that's what St. Thomas was thinking about. And so he erupts in the dinner, and you can imagine everyone looking around, and the other friars are nervous that the king is going to be offended by this little display. And but instead, King Louis, realizing that Brother Reginald is not there, orders the royal scribes to come in so that they can take down St. Thomas's argument, because he doesn't want him to forget it or to lose it. He wants to make sure it's preserved. Yeah.
Outstanding. So that is so funny. So, of course, that's great to know that Thomas Aquinas, arguably, what some would say is the greatest theologian in the history of the church, was, contemporaries and acquaintances, certainly, with St. Louis. So, Evelyn, through the years, we have, of course, celebrated St. Louis's patronage of this parish, and you were talking to us before we started filming this morning about some of the things that you think are so interesting about St. Louis and the ministry here at St. Louis Parish. And you think that, of course, that is part of his love for us, that he watches over us and he infuses his grace through Christ, of course, into the life of St. Louis. And so what are some of the things that were so important to him that are so obviously important to us?
Well, he was a great charitable king. He established a hospital in Paris with 300 beds. And you think about it, back then hospitals weren't for the rich and famous. They were treated at home when they were ill, and they had caregivers and family to take care of them. So the hospitals would have been for the indigent, the people who were the homeless and had no place to go.
Sure.
So that, and then he would feed the homeless daily. He would bring them into the castle area and feed them. And like St. Louis, one of our oldest, if not the oldest, parish ministries here is St. Vincent de Paul. The St. Vincent de Paul Society is over 60 years old, and it's still functioning. And we still have wonderful volunteers that go out 2 by 2 to visit the poor and needy in our area.
Sure. So you know St. Louis is pleased with that.
Yes, absolutely. And our food pantry and the farm that helps with the food, the mobile loaves and fishes, they go out and look for the homeless to feed. So I think he would feel right at home.
Absolutely. Another thing I've heard about St. Louis is that he actually used to go to 2 masses a day.
Yes.
And then he would also find Vespers. Throughout Paris at that time, he would be able to go to different religious houses, and they would have sung Vespers. Yes. And so clearly, as you say, he loved the liturgy. And of course, what do you think about St. Louis Parish and the liturgy?
We've always been known for our liturgy for years. And I think he would feel very at home here with our Vespers and our Compline before that. And even when he was in captivity during his first crusade, he would have priests come in and they would read the Liturgy of the Hours together, which I find amazing in prison.
These are great points, Evelyn. See, this is what's so great about Evelyn, being an employee here for 39 years, but also a parishioner. If you ever want to know anything about St. Louis the King or St. Louis King of France Church and School, this is the person you want to go to.
Thank
Evelyn,
you, Father.
It's great having you here. You're so
Thank
helpful
you.
to Father Doug and Father Jesse and myself. We're really grateful that you're here.
We are blessed. And I think St. Louis, if he came back to life and came to St. Louis Parish, would feel very at home.
Yes, he'd be like in the third pew on the left-hand side. And say,
Right.
These folks, they're doing liturgy right.
That's right.
So anyway,
That's right.
We're glad that you're with us this morning. Don't forget that the 25th of August is the Feast of St. Louis. It's a Saturday night this year. We're going to have a special festival mass at the Vigil Mass, and then it's going to be followed by Bistro en Bleu. That's the title of our party this year for the Feast of St. Louis. It's going to be a French bistro theme, Bistro en Bleu, Bistro en Bleu. And so we're looking forward to that. So thanks for joining us for Coffee with the Colorless Padre. Why don't you send the folks off?
Well, we thank you for joining us this morning. We hope you enjoy celebrating the Feast of St. Louis tomorrow, and we'll see you on Sunday.